This COVID period in terms of exercise reminds me a lot of what it was like studying for step one, at least before it was pass fail. Because in my opinion, there was like two types of people. Everyone studied hard for step one, theoretically, put in the same amount of time during dedicated period when you didn't have to take classes or take quizzes or tests. You made your own schedule. But I think people handled that period differently. Some people exercised every day, got a lot of sleep, got their nutrition in check, and others kind of did the opposite. And so it was like when you showed up to test day, there were some people who were in the absolute best shape of their life, and there were some people who looked like they'd been through a war. And I think that we're going to be going through a similar thing as we emerge from this COVID pandemic, because I know so many people who've said, the gym's closed, stopped exercising.
Right.
And I tell them, you don't need a bike, you don't need a gym, you don't need weights to exercise. You can do push-ups, you can do sit-ups, body weight squats, lunges. You can go out and run. If you have a bike, you can bike. Burpees are free. You just need to have that desire to make yourself work. And I just don't think a lot of people have that. So,
well, luckily, I talk about all the lifting. We have a gym in our house, which is why I still can do all that training. So that was it. That was sort of we have a gym in the house just because it takes time to go to the gym. So many years ago, we got equipment and stuff and then gradually increased it over the years. But it was really nice to have the gym. All the commercial gyms are closed, which we don't use anyway. So it was nice to have the gym at home to be able to use it.
When you cycle or when you bike and you're in it for 30, 40 minutes, do you ever feel like you hit a Zen state, like a flow state?
I do on occasion. I mean, sometimes one of the things I like about cycling is just that it's amazing sort of how fast you can go under your own power, and if you have a little tailwind, and there's not wind hitting you in the face, because of course if there's no wind, then you're creating wind by going 25 miles an hour. But the other day I was doing a 3-hour ride and there wasn't a lot of wind, it didn't seem. But when I did a turnaround to sort of come back, I was on this long straightaway and I was just cruising along and watching my numbers and not watching my speed at all. And I realized I'm doing like 32 miles an hour for like long period of time. And you just get in this rhythm and it's great. So sometimes you do. And but I really like that feeling, of being able to go fast, under your own power. And if you have a tailwind, all the better.
Yeah. I feel like people who stick with a physical activity for years, who are dedicated and committed to physical fitness and exercise, they sometimes hit that flow state, they call it, or like moving Zen or this meditative state. And to me, there's no other perfect example apart from the health benefits of exercise as to why exercise is so important. Like exercise fundamentally changes who you are as a person physically. The endorphins, the chemicals, the neurotransmitters that are being released, the change in the ratio of fat to muscle to bone in your body, that all influences our neurophysiology, our personalities, our mood, the way we interact with other people, the way we respond to challenges, just the way that we interface with the world.
Sure.
So I've always kind of viewed exercise as like the elixir to life.
Yeah, and I think on a bike, if you're even if you're riding with a group, but when you're riding and doing the kind of training I'm doing, you got a lot of time because I'm not listening to music or anything. I don't I don't have headphones or earphones to listen. I think about it, but I'd be too worried about traffic and all that. But it's like meditation,
right?
So it is very cathartic, no question.
I love that you brought up that you don't listen to music, because for the most part, I don't listen to music either, unless like on post call, I'm really tired. I need something to just give me a little extra energy boost. Do you know who David Goggins is?
I think I'm familiar with the name, but I don't know.
So he's a former Navy SEAL who's now he runs like ultra marathons, ultra triathlons. Okay. He formerly set the world record for most amount of pull-ups. He did 4,000
Is he the guy that did the plank record too? There was some other.
He might have been.
Like 8 hours. It was like 8 hours of planking.
Fathom that. But he did like 4,000 pull-ups in 17 hours, and that was like that wasn't his first attempt. He had done previous attempts, and I think the pull-up bar he brought in wasn't stabilized. He'd been training on a pull-up bar that didn't move, but the pull-up bar he brought in had a little bit of give to it. So after doing who knows how many thousands, he tore his extensor pollicis. Can you imagine how many pull-ups you have to do to tear an extensor? But so he said this very controversial point of view, which I actually kind of agree with to some extent, is he says, you shouldn't listen to music when you exercise. He said listening to music is cheating. And of course, if you watch the video clips or Instagram posts of him on the internet, he gets destroyed in the comments section. People are like, well, if music helps me go to the gym and I enjoy it, and it forces me to exercise and lose calories and improve my health, like, why is that bad? Yeah. And I almost feel like he was talking more to not just the average person. He was talking to like a high level athlete, someone who really exercises a lot. Because I've been doing martial arts since I was 7. Yeah. And I've always kind of had the same philosophy, like why would I, like if I get into an altercation on the street or I get into a fight, theme music or battle music isn't going to start playing in the background, right? Right. So to some extent, you need that intrinsic motivation to push yourself to be uncomfortable to the limit. And I think that's what he was talking about.
Maybe, yeah, because I think for most recreational people, I mean, anything that gets them doing it's obviously good.
Right.
So
so when I worked with you as a medical student, even as a resident, we'd schedule the clinic so we would see the patients, and then around noon we'd have lunch. We'd go over the morning patients, and then at the end of the day we'd go over the patients. And I noticed you would always bring in for lunch a sandwich, like a bag of chips or an apple, and a drink. Yeah. What is you're so dialed in? Yeah. So dialed in for this fitness. What is your nutrition like?
Well, I think my wife would say boring. I guess I can eat more or less the same thing without caring too much about it. So nutrition is, I don't eat a lot of junk food, but I don't like count calories and all that kind of thing either. So I try to just eat healthy foods more or less. I like ice cream and like peanut butter. And so those are kind of the things that I'll eat that I consider, well, the peanut butter is pretty healthy because it's the natural stuff. And I usually have salads at night on weekdays, and then we have fish one weekend night, and usually some sort of beef or pork or something the other, and turkey sandwiches at lunch, and so I've just started taking some protein supplements because of the increased. The nice thing, of course, about burning all those calories is you get to eat pretty much whatever you want. Right. And since I've been with this coach, I go out, I go do a 3-hour ride, and that's like, it counts calories too. Mm-hmm. It's like 2,500 calories. So you can eat a lot. So I've been eating more, and I realized I'm probably not getting enough protein. So I just started with some protein supplementation in addition after workouts.
So you have a pretty good idea of how many calories you're burning. Do you track intake at all, or macros?
Not really. I weigh myself, and if it starts to go a little up, but my weight hasn't changed in decades. In the winter, I'm about 5 pounds heavier than I am in the summer, but it's the same pretty much so far. At least it's been pretty much the same. Gain about 5 pounds in the winter, a lot less volume of cycling just because it's so boring to ride inside. And then outside in the summer, burn off the calories and lose a little bit.
So you just make healthy choices in general.
I think, yeah. I don't weigh my food or, say, oh, that's that. I'm not eating it because it's bad for me. I'm not that big into that.
I haven't really gotten into weighing food yet, but a few years ago I started to track, not just from a numeric standpoint of the calories in, but I found that the act of tracking, in these apps made me much more aware of what was in food. And so I think over time that just led me to make healthier food choices just because I'm far more aware of what's in.
Don't get me wrong. I've read books on nutrition for cyclists and all. I just reread it as I found out my shelf during the COVID thing. It had a chance to read more books. So I just reread that book too about, I forget, it's not called Nutrition for Cyclists, but that might as well be the title, but it talked all about that. And that's in part actually why I started doing the protein supplement, because I read that book again.
How often do you train on the level and bike trail? Or if at all? Yeah,
so I usually use the level and bike trail to get from like point A to point B if there's a lot of traffic. And then, so that would be like a warm up side, because, I was there on Saturday afternoon, this past Saturday, and it was like 80 degrees. I have never ever in 25 years seen so many people on the level and bike trail, and you can't. There's no way you can train on it because you're stopping and starting, and little kids are veering their bikes in and around things. So I live fairly close to getting on the bike trail. It takes me like 10 minutes to get on the bike trail, so I might do 20-minute more warm up on the bike trail. It'll get me out to like Round Bottom Road, or it'll get me out to Loveland and then out into the countryside. And so I'll use it like that.
So when I was young, my parents would take us biking on that Loveland bike trail. And then, as I grew up, I stopped going out there. Well, when I came back from intern year and my buddy got me biking out there again, it made me realize, like, to me, that the Loveland bike trail is probably the most beautiful part of our city. It's like our greatest treasure, in my opinion. I feel like every time I'm on it, I'm in a corridor to a different dimension.
Yeah.
And every branch, every offshoot is like going into a different like world.
Well, and it goes and goes and goes.
I heard it connects to like 70, 100 miles.
Yeah,
total
it goes up towards Columbus. And I did recently do an early morning, well, not early, a morning Sunday ride. It was kind of overcast and drizzly and 55, and there was nobody on it. And so I rode for 3 hours, and I just rode an hour and a half north and out through Morrow and the Caesars Creek Park. It goes through there. I just went 90 minutes north and then back. And there was, I could have gone another 90 minutes, I think.
You ever done a century?
Oh yeah. Not recently, because it's not at all the kind of training I need to do for time trialing, which is a short, kind of a thing. But I've done a bunch of them in the past, big group ride kind of things, that sort of thing.
On the Loveland bike trail, I think I would love to do the entire expanse, not for time or anything, but just for the pleasure of it. Yeah. So you've been exercising a lot, but what's apart from not being able to travel as much as you have, what's it been like being grounded? Are you enjoying it? Or are you like itching to get back out there into the world?
I'm enjoying it. So my hobbies.
Loaded question, right?
None of my hobbies have been affected. So I cycling and exercising is obviously a big hobby, and then serious listening to music is a hobby. So I got all that at home too. So I don't have. That's a very singular, usually sort of a thing for me. And so that's been good. I've had a chance to do some more reading, work, finish up some projects at home. So the hard part's going to be going back to a regular schedule, I think. So I don't mean to make light of the whole situation, but I don't mind being quarantined or semi-quarantined really at all. My wife's getting a little nuts. She likes to go out and shop. She likes to go out to dinner. She's beginning to feel, definitely kind of cooped up. But she doesn't really cycle much, but she does a lot of walking, and she'll go out and do long walks and all that kind of thing. But so I'm more relaxed than ever. It's been really nice. We have been seeing patients some, but only sort of urgent, whatever your definition might be of that, urgent patients. So, my typical week would be 6 half days of patients and 4 half days of administrative work as chairman of the department. And so now I'm just doing, until this coming week, I was only doing like 2 half days of patient care. So there are 4 half days of patient care, not in the office, at home, whatever. And the administrative stuff is almost all done at home. But the meetings are all there. They're just all online meetings now.
So many online meetings.
Yeah. So that's nice though, because honestly, these meetings that I used to have in like 5 to 6:30, which would be in my exercising time, I'm in the gym at home with the meeting, and nobody knows. So don't tell anyone that. And so it's really nice because I can listen to what I need to hear for a lot of it's informational stuff. And I'm in the gym, and I'm thinking that it might be a good idea to continue that when the COVID thing is over. Just call into the meeting because that can get in my way. I think I'm ready to go back. And this coming week, we're going to be starting with, I think I have a 1 half day of no patients instead of 4.